Feeling disembodied? Stay tuned because in this episode, I'm going to share with you how sensuality can help you come home back into your body. I am Candia Raquel, a Mexican sensualist and scientist, and you are at the Sensual Sessions Podcast, the place to explore sensing pleasure through your senses and moving in a way that it's delightful, free from inhibition, and full of self expression. So, I, as many of you, have been raised in this no pain, no gain culture of hustling and earning through sweat everything that you so deserve. But there's a trap to this because if you stand in this idea of having to go through pain to go to any kind of gain, it implies that you have to become numb to your body to raise your tolerance towards discomfort, which, if we are very scientifically strict, it's nonsense because pain is a big red light screaming you to stop. So I came to this. Of course, this is makes logical sense, but I didn't come to embody the realization until I got a very bad back injury after not listening to my body. And yeah, paradoxically enough, most of my life I had been a disembodied dancer, and furthermore, a disembodied Pilates master teacher trainer because of this kind of disembodied stoic mentality. So it's never too late to to stop and just wonder, what are we doing? Like, how are we living ourselves and facing our life? Are we really moving forward in life through a potent state of embodying your desire and being grounded in your health? Or are we sacrificing ourselves for the sake of performance and expecting the applause from society and the people you know because you've been such a good martyr? So it's very important to challenge these cultural ideas on no pain, no gain, and re-signify effort and accomplishment as the natural outcome of a healthy, self respectful, and very importantly, a pleasurable process to yourself. And how you do that? Well, to me, I had to hit a brick wall, and that's what injury taught me. I wanted to use willpower to get back on track, and pain just sat me back down. And it wasn't until I really stopped to listen to my body and said, like, okay, what's going on in my body? Am I gonna hurt myself if I force myself? Is there any other way to move? And that's when I discovered, first off, pausing, and secondly, I discovered pleasure. And by moving in a way that felt good, little by little, movement by movement, I traced my path back to health, which was the path back to feeling at home in my body. So I stopped being a threat to my own self and making my body a place of discomfort, pain, sacrifice, martyrdom, uh, endurance of suffering and all those terrible things. And I became to very delicately tend to my body in the same way that you tend to a garden, like taking care of yourself by listening to what you need and giving yourself that what you need, and then listening to your desires. What do you want, and what's the pleasurable journey to get there? So that's how I became like uh, a nice place to be bodily for myself. And here are 3 steps that can help you get there. And these 3 steps are by using the tool of pleasure as a compass. So you see the compasses that I am a biologist. So I went to the mountains many times, and I used to have like an analogic compass that show you where the north was, and that was the way we had to found our way back to the camp, to the base camp. So use pleasure as your compass and take a pause at every turn to see at your pleasure compass and notice if you are on the right direction. So it will tell you if you are walking in a delightful journey and heading towards further delight, or if you are somewhat getting derailed from pleasure to a point that you don't feel much. It's like whatever, it's like neutral. And you will also notice if you got drifted away to a path that will lead you to the cliff of pain. You don't want to throw yourself through the cliff or drown yourself in the swamp of sadness. Remember the never-ending story where the horse of Atreyu got drowned in the swamp of of sadness? We don't want that. That's what happens when you don't look at pleasure as your compass and you go the wrong way. And also use that compass to say like, okay, I lost my way. I have to go back to pleasure. So in general, that's the concept of the pleasure as compass tool. And the 3 steps are: first, the radical acceptance of sensations. And I mean physical, fleshly sensations, not emotions, but physical sensations. Pleasure, the same as pain, is a physical, undeniable sensation that you can clearly measure. It's a measure of bodily survival. So just shift your focus inward and notice what's going on in your body. And if it's pleasurable, neutral, or actually painful, or you're heading on the way towards pain. For example, exhaustion or dehydration. So once you catch yourself on that track, you turn your way back to the right track. Like, okay, I'm heading towards exhaustion. I'm gonna take 2 minutes of non-doing, or I'm gonna lay on my back on the couch of the office for 5 minutes and recover, or I'm gonna take a day off, or I need to go on vacations, or I'm gonna sleep the whole weekend before I get really tired and it piles up till getting myself burned out. Or I think that my mouth, it's already feeling kind of dry and sticky. I don't have much saliva. I think I'm getting dehydrated. I'm gonna make myself a chamomile tea right now. So that's a practical way to step one, have a radical acceptance of your sensations. Watch if you're derailing away from pain and getting back on track. Step number two is having utter respect for your body and letting your body have the last word. Pain means stop, pleasure means go. And this is non negotiable. If you're feeling pain, you need to stop right now. And if it's serious pain, no matter if you're like in the board meeting or you are in hosting the birthday party of your kids and all the moms are there, if you're feeling serious pain, in that exact moment, you call an ambulance. That's what I mean with utter respect to the body. And it's the basic responsibility of truly being a mature adult. And step number three is to have this self consent, because what we talked prior in step number one and two has to do with self preservation and survival and health. Like, if you're in pain, that's a health um, wake up call, and you need to act accordingly, responsibly as an adult. But step number three has to do with mature pleasure of being an adult, and this has to do with self-consent, with authorizing yourself to delight, with giving yourself permission to veer away from pain, even though you don't get the applause for your martyrdom and sacrifice. It's a choice, and this is the point. And follow pleasure because you say so. You take ownership on your flesh and your experience of yourself as an embodied mature adult that deliberately chooses pleasure as a journey and also as the destination. Like, you have a desire, and what will support you on the journey to get that desire is that the journey is pleasurable. That's why we use a compass to stay on the track of pleasure. And that will further increase the experience of pleasure once you get to that desire, because you have been threading on it, you have been building it up along the way in the journey. And that's how you use pleasure as your compass to come home back to your body. You make it safe to be in your body because you can trust yourself with the basic self-care of not doing things that or getting away from things that are painful and making sure that you create a pleasurable environment for you. And I am talking about basic bodily pain and basic bodily pleasure at a fundamental level. And a great way to practice this tool of pleasure as compass is in your relation with your pelvic floor area. Because two reasons. First, the psychological, and secondly, the physiological, which is the most important one. So, first, psychologically, there's so much taboo around, especially female pelvic floor and female pleasure, and and all of this taboo and religion and even trauma and the past history with relations and stuff, all of that get in the way of just having a transparent and honest listening to this body area. So it's important to put aside all that noise, psychological noise, and focus on the physiological aspect of the pelvic floor, which is just another body area, like, say, the armpit. Sometimes the armpit is kind of stinky if you ate too much garlic and you are sweating a lot. Well, maybe you ate a lot of frijoles, of beans. I am Mexican, so we eat a lot of beans, and you farted, and your pelvic floor is stinky naturally. And that's just that, a physiological outcome of that body area. Nothing to be ashamed of or having all those psychological stuff. And it's very important to reclaim the pelvic floor as as part of your whole self, the totality of yourself, not just a hidden dark corner that has only some kind of attention during intercourse, though it may or not, or oftentimes it's not really pleasurable for women, especially. And reclaim the pelvic floor as part of the totality of yourself and an area that is extremely sensual and sensitive because of its neural nervous system connections to pleasure, sensual pleasure, as part of your lifestyle. Not only sexual pleasure, but sensual pleasure. In the same way that it's so pleasurable to sense the skin of your cheekbones and savor an exquisite meal. Going to the bathroom, it's also very pleasurable. If you remove the taboos, you will realize that it's because it's a matter of survival. Going to the bathroom needs to be pleasurable because we need to go to the bathroom every day in order to stay alive. Again, this is a matter of survival. This is about the sensation of pleasure and the sensation of pain. This is factual, practical science. It has nothing to do with emotions and etc. And by reclaiming this area of the pelvic floor, you will give a very real and physical floor to your body as a home. So don't come home to your body just with a roof and walls. You need the floor. So take into account, especially the pelvic floor. And for this, I have a free surprise that is a 5-day pelvic floor challenge. I'm gonna copy the link on the description of this episode, wherever you are checking it on video or on audio. And yeah, I hope you use pleasure as a compass to orient yourself towards pleasure, away from pain, and delight in the journey of your splendorous life. And as always, do remember to take the time to sense your fire so you can share the flame.